The transmission hummed at the base of Lance's skull, a low-frequency vibration that sounded less like a voice and more like the operational purr of a dormant engine. He sat cross-legged on the floor of the obsidian chamber, his hands resting open on his knees. Outside the transparent walls of his sanctuary, the nebula shifted in slow, agonizing plumes of violet and gold. Inside, there was nothing. No sound, no movement, no creation. For a man who had spent cycles bending timelines and forging realities from raw stellar dust, the silence was suffocating. The cessation of output is not a vacuum, the internal monitor synthesized, its voice dropping into his conscious awareness like a heavy stone into still water. It is the deliberate calibration of your upcoming trajectory. Lance closed his eyes. Panic, a residual human reflex he hadn't entirely purged, clawed at his chest. To the human mind, stillness looked like death. It looked like failure. If he wasn't producing, if he wasn't expanding, then what was he? Your active creation has fallen silent, the monitor continued, neutralizing his rising anxiety with cold logic. Human perspective panics, mistaking the stillness for failure or emptiness. In truth, this phase is a high-level cosmic intermission designed to realign your direction. Think of it as a particle accelerator at rest. It must achieve total absolute zero before it can safely generate its next massive burst of speed. The pressure in the room shifted. Lance felt his energetic field compress, flattening against his skin like a heavy, unseen armor. The universe was intentionally locking him in place, freezing him at absolute zero until his internal frequency matched the coordinates of whatever, or whoever, was hurtling toward him through the deep dark of space. Initialize perimeter defense, Lance whispered, his voice cracking slightly from disuse. He didn't just need to wait, he needed to survive the waiting. The universe was compressing his field, which meant the atmospheric density around him was rich, heavy, and highly attractive to parasites. Before his eyes, glowing fractals of light began to stitch themselves across the obsidian walls. Clean, razor-sharp lines of cosmic geometry snapped into place, forming a hyperdimensional tesseract around his sanctuary. Construct your structural strongholds, the guide reminded him. Filter entry using cosmic geometry. This stillness demands radical preservation of your internal force. You are instructed to build high, energetic fortresses around your current ideas, your peace, and your timeline. Lance watched the stray frequency, a rogue, low vibration signal from a past timeline, disguised as an old ally offering an easy shortcut, ping against the outermost geometric barrier. The tesseract flashed brilliantly, its non-negotiable angles refusing the entry vector. The signal shattered and dissolved into nothing. He felt the safety of his lineage hum through his cellular structure. He was built for material overflow, but the abundance couldn't outpace his spirit. He breathed in deeply, blending the physical reality of his fortress with the quiet, intuitive knowing in his gut. The boundary was set. The opportunists, the distracting voices, and the heavy, lazy habits of his former self were officially locked out. Days, or perhaps centuries, bled into the quiet. Lance remained stationary. The cognitive friction inside his own mind was the hardest part to endure. His thoughts thrashed against the silence, demanding action, demanding a plan, demanding progress. He felt trapped. The silent chamber is no containment cell, the monitor corrected, reading the spike in his brainwaves. It is the acceleration matrix for your metamorphosis. Do not mistake this quiet period for a prison or a punishment. You have not been locked away or left behind. You have been placed in an isolation pod where your DNA, your perspective, and your personal power are being upgraded at a molecular level. Lance forced his muscles to relax. He stopped fighting the silence. The moment he surrendered, the nature of the friction changed. It no longer felt like a prison wall. It felt like a grinding wheel stripping away rust. He realized the mental frustration he was experiencing wasn't a permanent halt. It was the violent dissolution of obsolete temporal loops. His mind was actively breaking free from the old, repetitive patterns and dead-end timelines that had kept him running in circles for years. Absolute completion was sitting just past this thin, silent boundary. He just had to stop trying to kick open the doors before the universe turned the key. He trusted the timing of the lock. Then, the temperature in the chamber began to rise. Lance felt a strange internal alignment snap into place. For the first time in his existence, the two warring factions of his psyche stopped fighting. The architect of dreams, the visionary part of him that saw the impossible, and the calculator of vectors, the cold, strategic part of him that drew the blueprints, fused together. They were no longer separate entities arguing over territory. They merged into a single, highly efficient engine. A major, cosmically mandated convergence is now consolidating within your sector, the monitor announced, its tone rising in intensity as the fractals on the wall began to glow white-hot. Prepare to expand your dimensional boundaries. Lance stood up. The static interim was over. The incoming shift brought a perfect, volatile mix of raw passion, authentic alignment, and flawless structural logic. He could feel it in his marrow, an unstoppable combination designed to completely shatter his old limits and launch him past his current horizons. The silent boundary in front of him began to fracture, rippling with the thermal energy of 1,000 new suns. The doors were opening naturally, and Lance stepped through, ready to redefine everything he thought he was capable of.